What is home? If you were to ask me that, I would say Colombia. Or at least that's what I would have said 4 years ago. It's now 2023. I'm 2 years from graduating, and I'm exhilarated by knowing that home isn't a literal structure, or indeed a country. Home is actually a plural concept. Home are the people who will lift you up and catch you when you fall. Okay, Colombia is a small country with around 52 million people. It is located at the northwest of South America. In other words, it's in the other side of the planet. I grew up in Bogota, the capital city of Colombia. I lived in an apartment complex where everyone was mostly friendly and welcoming. I learned to write and speak in Spanish. I was able to make friends every time there was a big event, such as Halloween or Christmas. Every Friday after school, we used to spend time together for hours. We would either play soccer with the light poles or walls as goals, or we would play hide and seek, or we would just lay down and watch the stars at night. If I was excited to see my friends during the week, I would be excited to see my family during the weekends. We used to gather around with my uncles, my grandparents, my cousins, every time it was someone's birthday, or every time there was a Colombian soccer game, or every time it was New Year's Eve. These people I spent time with, the landscape, these memories, this was when I felt comfortable, when I felt happy, when I felt as I could be myself and wouldn't be judged or looked upon my biggest flaws. This was home. They were home. And so I grew older. My mom has been an IB teacher during 24 years now, and during her pregnancy, she spoke English all the time. I have a conspiracy theory since I knew this. My ability to learn, understand, and speak English began since that very moment. I would later polish my English in around 6th grade as I had English every day of the week. I would also work on my English as my dad put me on an English course every weekend. However, English was just a second language. I couldn't practice or speak my English due to the fact that I lived in a country that only spoke Spanish. It was this a barrier that possibly impeded home, when 2 years later, I moved to an English community. Although we felt comfortable where we lived and the people around us, my mom wanted a change. She had been telling me and my brother about this one-of-a-kind opportunity. When she went to her job fair in San Francisco and came back, my mom's eyes glowed a way I had never seen before. BISWuxi Boston International School. One of the names that my mom was most interested on as an IB teacher. This didn't only mean leaving what we knew as home and the people we loved behind, but also we would be introduced to a whole new world. I felt scared, but I also felt excited. One part of me was intrigued by the unknown, was controlled by the drive of trying new things. The other half was afraid. Afraid that I wouldn't belong. Afraid that I would have to leave and lose connection with those friends and my family whom I have held my hand throughout my childhood. Afraid that I wouldn't be part of many memories yet to come. Whom would be my home? I remember my last day at my old school. The last 2 periods of the day, there was a goodbye party as it was the summer holiday. It all started with laughs, music, snacks, and candy. But the last 15 minutes, the atmosphere became emotional. I remember my friends grabbed the ukulele they had borrowed, and they stood in front of the class and started to sing about me. Although they were goofing around and it was nothing serious, I started to cry. Memories flashing through my mind of all the joyful moments we had spent together. My friends also started to cry. I ended up trying calming down my best friend Salvatore and Majorca because they couldn't hold back their tears. The bell rang, and I hugged my teacher as tight as I could. I hugged my friends as tight as I could. And everyone around me saying their goodbyes was a moment I would never forget. I felt as I was leaving a part of me. I felt as I was living where I learned my ABCs, where I learned my values and what built me as a person. I felt I was leaving my school. I was leaving my home. Time passed, and it was time to leave my city. I chained up with courage because I knew for sure there would be a whole new world out there. I arrived in Shanghai, China, after a 12-hour plane ride from Atlanta, US. Things were written in characters, not letters. For the first time, I didn't understand what people said around me. Upon our arrival to Wuxi, and I began to meet the new community at my school, when I talked and listened to them, I realized my English, not as great as I thought, became a roadblock. I didn't know how to express my feelings towards something in English. In addition to the fact that different native speakers sound different while speaking English. This started to bother me and stayed at the back of my mind. I felt uncomfortable. Time passed, and I began the school year, and I felt the only friend I had was my brother. People in this new world, in this new school, didn't enjoy the same things as I did, didn't talk about the same things as I did, didn't have the same beliefs as I did. Towards the middle of the year, I thought things would get better, but they remained the same. I became desperate. I was afraid my mind was going to give up, and I had to tell my mom, "Mom, I'm unhappy." However, I didn't give up. Determination wouldn't just come through out of nowhere. It would come from a video game called Fortnite. In the year 2019, Fortnite Battle Royale was a game I really loved, but mainly because of one thing. It was the only way I was able to speak and communicate with my friends. There is a 13-hour difference between Colombia and China. One day, one of my friends persuaded me to stay and play all night long with the classic, last one, we must win before we go. Apart from my love for video games, this was the only connection home. I didn't tell my mom anything and kept going to school more optimistic because I knew I would be able to rely on the online world in order to cope with my struggles. Home had returned, even if it was from a distance. Time passed, and it was time for my second year. I was able to meet Lorenzo. He's also from Bogota, and although things were smooth at first, he is one of my best friends right now because when he arrived to Boston, he made me feel how my family made me feel. He made me feel how Salvatore and Majorca made me feel. He made me feel how video games made me feel. It all made me feel at home. Being away from what I was familiar as home made me realize that home is not a place with walls and a rooftop in the country or city you have been born in. Home is much more. I realized home is an abstract concept, something you can't touch or you can't buy. Home is where someone's genuine self feels at ease, feels comfortable, feels secure. One doesn't have to pretend to be someone else because when you're home, you won't be judged. You won't be looked upon your biggest flaws or be reminded of the moments you messed up in order to be embarrassed. Home are the people who are willing to listen to your feelings and problems and are willing to do the effort and find a solution. Although I had a rough start, I was able to feel like I was at home again. One of the people that are home is my older brother. I've never called him by his first name, Andres. I've always called him hermano. Hermano stands, well, for brother in Spanish. And I've always called him hermano because I've always looked at him as a role model and my values of home. And he's the premier example of this because like all siblings, we argue, we get into fights, we mess around, we get in trouble. But he has never made me feel insecure. He has never highlighted the negative aspects of a situation that I was involved in. And he has never made me feel left out. And as I've been able to identify all of these BL individuals in my life and share with you the experiences I had to grow to, being able to see who are the people that put value into my life, you should take a moment and think, who are the people who talk to you before you approach them? Who are the people who tell you or text you, good morning, or how are you today? Who are the people who make you confident, who don't put you down? Who are the people who make you smile? Who are the people who you can be yourself with? After answering all those questions, and you find those people, don't let them go out of your life. Do everything you can do to protect them. Hold onto them tightly. For me, I know my mom, my brother, Aida, Lorenzo, and many other people in my life have a purpose. They're the reason why I'm happy. And the reason why I know what home feels like, and I know I'm able to answer the question, what is home? They are. Thank you.